Welcome to the Thrive podcast with the Shiloh Missionary Baptist Church.
How does your faith kind of play into it, or does it play into it?
What can be done about it? When I say the church, I'm talking about evangelical white Christians and the black folk who attend their churches. Hello, welcome to the Thrive podcast with the Shiloh Missionary Baptist Church. I'm Fred Jeff Smith, pastor of Shiloh. Welcome to the fourth year. I can't believe it's been 4 years that we've been doing the Thrive podcast with the Shiloh Missionary Baptist Church. As always, we thank you for your support, particularly during this time of pandemic. We thank you for the way in which you have supported this podcast, for the way that you have supported our church. We always like to hear from you. Please feel free to reach out to me via email at fredjeffsmith@cox.net. fredjeffsmith@cox.net. Let us know how we're doing or how we can better service you. I'm very grateful today to have as my guest Miss Tanika Morrison, who is an entrepreneur, is an entertainment host, is a fashionista, and is a registered nurse. Miss Morrison, thank you so much for coming by and sharing with us today. How are you?
Oh, you're welcome, and thank you for having me. I'm doing good. I'm doing good considering the weather tried to not be so cooperative.
It's been a rough week, hasn't it?
Yeah, but you know, I didn't lose any power, so I can't complain.
Well, I got something. I got a bone to pick with you now. Because we lost power. We were 3 days without power. We just got it back last night. But we're grateful to be back in a warm house.
Yeah.
So, tell me, what does it mean to be a fashionista? Help me to understand that.
My mantras that I give myself, right? I hope I can back them up. But I think that a fashionista is someone who, like, fashion, style, they're individual about it, and it's near and dear to their heart. So pretty much anyone can be a fashionista if they have those qualities, is what I think. If it doesn't take any kind of special formalized training or anything necessarily. I mean, if you choose to put more into it, great. But it's just something I just use that to describe myself because fashion is really my passion.
Okay, so help me to understand as someone who is completely clueless with regard to fashion. That's not self-deprecating, it's just an observation of fact. Help me to understand what it is about fashion that perhaps I should know that I don't know. I mean, when you're talking about blending fabrics and colors and materials and things like that, pretty soon my eyes gloss over. So help me with understanding.
So that's just... So you're not a fashionista.
Right.
What you pretty much have said. Because a person that's a fashionista, those things you just said about blending and fabrics and colors and mixing and patterns and all that, like when we hear that and when we see that, we get butterflies.
It clicks, huh?
Yeah, we get butterflies. We get excited. And so what you're missing is that piece. It's just not probably in you. Yeah. You can do enough to get yourself, like, you know your colors.
Right.
So you know what's considered, you know, you can walk around and see what's acceptable, you know, as far as our culture, and you can follow the rules and put it together. But you're just missing the passion part. And that's just, you got it or you don't, I think.
Yes, ma'am.
So, yeah, that's all.
So you're from Baton Rouge, born and raised here in Baton Rouge. Tell me what your story is. You grew up here in South. You were telling me your house is not very far from where we are right now.
Right.
So I live in 16th Street, not far from where we are at all. Tell me what it was like growing up in Baton Rouge at that time in that area.
Man, it was great. Especially, like, we went outside. So, that's number one.
Let's start with that. Yes.
We were outside. We knew our neighbors. Man, especially South Baton Rouge was a great place. Because, I mean, we had, you know, back then things were a little more segregated, but not really without saying it. You know what I mean? We just stuck together a little differently. We had interaction, of course, with all races. But Baton Rouge was different then. I remember going through, up until I think the 90s, we were still trying to do school desegregation and making the numbers work. You know, the 60-40 and you getting bussed over here and there.
Absolutely.
But, you know, being able to go to school with your friends, being able to know that Miss, you know, Lange down the street, that was really Miss Lange, was going to make sure that when you walk down the street from the bus or whatever, that you got home. If your parents weren't home, which mine were, they were retired, they were older, but making sure that you were good. And it was a great place then. We didn't have the same worries. We had worries, but we just didn't have the same worries. And I kind of miss, well, I do miss that. I do miss that. And
You mentioned that your parents were older. Are you a baby girl in the family? Is there more than one? Where do you fall in the number?
So I fall with, and I have, so it's like two, you know, but we don't really do that in the African American community, step and all of that. But for my father, I'm his baby.
Okay.
And then for my mother, I have a sister, one sister after me.
Okay.
So I'm way down the line because I have 7 sisters and 4 brothers.
Gotcha.
Yes.
Gotcha. Okay. Okay.
So it's a dozen, and I'm number 11.
So I'm the middle of 3, and my brother is 6 years older than me, and he was gone pretty much when I turned 13 or 14 years old, which left me and my sister. So even though I'm the middle child, I think I have older child tendencies with regard to my younger sister. Is it the same with you, or what?
With me, it's weird. So I'm my dad's baby. So I'm a daddy's girl through and through. But like for my brothers, I'm more of I take on like a motherly role. I don't know. I just I just have a nurturing spirit. So I'm kind of like, I don't act like the baby at all, except when it would come to my dad, which he passed in '99.
I'm sorry.
But when it came to him, I was just, you know, a baby, no matter what.
I understand.
But I do tend to take on I don't know. I can't help it. It's just, I just take care of people.
So in addition to your entrepreneurship, and we're going to talk about that a little bit more in just a minute, you're also a registered nurse, and you were telling me that you've been a registered nurse for several years now. When did you know that nursing was something that you wanted to pursue?
I ran from nursing, to be honest with you. I think because it was so obvious that I was like trying to rebel against it. Like, I don't want to do that, because it was pretty much like, you know, people were like, you're going to own a business, be a nurse, or be a teacher. So I didn't want to do any of those things because that's what I felt like people were doing, but I couldn't run from it. So I always kind of knew in the back of my mind, but I didn't want to just do bedside nursing or just wait until someone was sick. That was what I was thinking of when they would say that. So I just was like, I don't always want people to be sick, you know. And so I had to educate myself and learn about the different roles of a nurse. And once I realized that, then I embraced it. But I attended Bel Air Medical Magnet program. So we got to, during the course of the program, each year you did something different. But we were exposed to different roles in healthcare. So I think it was more so maybe my senior year of high school that I really realized some different options for nurses. But I still rebelled because when I went to college, I didn't start off as a nursing major. I started off in pharmacy.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
And I was a pharmacy tech and worked in pharmacy.
Okay.
And then after that, then I went on to nursing and went to nursing school instead of pharmacy school.
So, with the current pandemic, and forgive me for asking questions that you're probably tired of answering.
No, it's okay.
With the current pandemic and the vaccines that have finally been made available and are in the midst of distribution, can you give us any sense of when we might be able to get back to a state of normalcy? It's been almost a year since we've done the social distancing and the shutting down, and for some people, it has proven to be very difficult for them to do. Some people are outright rebellious about it and can be violent about it, even on a certain level. But in that you are a medical expert, I think I would be curious to know what you think about.
My thoughts.
Yes.
My thoughts are, I think as far as the timing of everything and the vaccine, the timing of the vaccine, it's, and within our community, we're looking at it kind of sideways, like, I don't know about this because we don't trust the government, right? We don't trust them because of the history, and I understand that. I think that's the best, our best option. We have to develop some herd immunity, right? We have to get to the point where we are exposed to some degree and able to, because of the way the body works, and able to build antibodies and able to be able to fight this thing, because we've seen mutations. But I understand everyone's apprehension. So in my mind, I have to kind of compartmentalize it, and I'm thinking like with the Tanika RN brain, and then I think with the Tanika Morrison, just me being me, is like, no, I don't trust that. But as a healthcare professional, I think that the vaccine is the safest thing to do, and when made available, I'm going to do it. But as far as the timing and people's reaction to things, I think we need to go ahead, make the vaccine available, anyone who wants to get it, and they can, based on the criterion, and let the chips fall where they may at some point. Because at this point, we're criminalizing people for being people. We have businesses that have been sanctioned and shut down, and people some of them won't ever open again. We've had to change the way we do business. And I think that it's time. We can't just be in our houses forever. We have to come out. And if we've done what we can do as far as how to deal with it, and I think this federal administration we have in place now is going to do much better than the one that was, because the one that was did like basically nothing. Then I think we're on the right track, and we need to really honor democracy and let people make the choice for themselves, as long as it's not harming others. And I think we are getting it under control. I think so. So that's my opinion. I wouldn't say it's an expert opinion. It's just my opinion. I have my fears.
If not
and
expert, it's certainly
though.
an experienced opinion, and I appreciate that. I have a tendency to believe that while there are levels of government, most politics is local. And so I'm far more interested in what local government is doing to respond to these issues as opposed to the federal government. Just off the cuff, based on your experience, how do you think local government is doing?
I'm just thinking of, at times I think local government has been okay. I would say I would give them a B, C, B minus.
B minus, C plus?
B minus, C plus.
Okay.
Depends on what you're talking about. I think, and especially in response to where we were, I think that I really like that they cracked down on things. I feel like they did. You had people who still didn't abide by it, but they were strict. And you know, you can't control what people do in their own homes, and that people continued to have gatherings and everything. But even at those gatherings, you still had some police officers to pull up.
Right.
They were pulling up at people's houses. So they were given that order, that mandate to do that. So I think that our local government acted as swiftly as they could with that. I don't know that we could have, I mean, aside from just making people stay home, and we at times didn't we have curfews in the beginning? I'm trying to remember because so much has changed.
There were some areas where you did have curfew.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think they did, I would give them a B- and to a C+ in some areas.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's go back to fashion. Tell me about your entrepreneurship. What is the Chimes Boutique, and how did you come about that?
Oh, Chimes Boutique. So Chimes Boutique is an e-commerce business. If we're online, that's number one, because so many people ask me, where is your store, you know? And I chose that route. I have been wanting to start a boutique forever. Like, I had always wanted to be in fashion. While everyone was saying nursing, I was saying fashion. Being from Baton Rouge, how are you in fashion? What do? You know, being a little girl and creating this stuff in your head and around the house. How do you make a living from that? What do you do with it? So I chose a safer route, which was, you know, nursing. But for fashion, Chimes Boutique started in my heart long before I named it. I knew I wanted a boutique, but as I was pursuing my life, career, I didn't know how it would look. And as time went on, you know, I mentioned my dad passed in 99. Well, I had a stepdad, and my mom had been with him since I was 2. So he was my dad too. And loved him so much. He passed unexpectedly in 2015. I mean, like, I expected him to be here another 20 years. Like, he was fine.
Yes.
And went to the hospital with what we thought was pneumonia and never came home. And it just hit me like a ton of bricks. Like, it made me reevaluate everything. And it made me realize that, which we know, we say it, tomorrow's not promised, we say that, but like when that happens, like, no, like, really, he was a minister, and he had, and I'm a little off the subject, but I'm getting back to your question. Sure. He had suits. He loved to dress too. He loved to dress, and he would have his suits and everything. He was wearing this suit to this and this suit to that and everything. And he was always waiting for something, though. He was always like, well, I gotta help. He was so helpful. He always lived for everyone else. I gotta help your sister with this and this and this and this. So I would always fuss at him for not taking care of himself because he's worried about everyone else. So he was always waiting for something. So he was like, I'm gonna wear this suit to this and this suit to that. So when he passed and we're going through his things, and I'm looking, and he still has these tags hanging in preparation for something. And that I said, no more tags, not for me. So I went for it. But still I'm a Virgo.
Okay.
So we are master planners and very strategic, and you know, we gotta have it down to the T.
I'm a Libra, so I don't know anything about that.
So you what? October?
October 4th.
Yeah. You're right after us. Well, so I did it with apprehension. I did it just being cautious. Cautious risk taker myself. So I put it out there. I created this website. I had this merchandise. I put it out there, and then I stood back to see what would happen. It wasn't until a friend of mine, her husband said, why don't you get out there, you model your clothes? Because I had other people modeling my clothes. They were beautiful people. They did great work, but I wasn't getting the results that I wanted to get. And I needed something to be the difference maker. And there were a number of things I had to change to make a difference in my business. But, I started Chimes Boutique because I wanted to get to, after losing my stepdad, a happy place. I had to go to grief counseling. Even now, my life will never be the same. He was just such a great loss, but I had to I couldn't keep it inside anymore. I had to let it out. So I named it Chimes Boutique because I made a list of things that made me happy, because that's what it was all about, getting to my happy for me. And one thing that I always loved as a little girl is the sound of wind chimes. And so that's where the name came from.
Okay.
And I kind of didn't want to do that because we have a name here locally.
West Chimes.
Right. And
Yeah.
I didn't want people to associate it and think it had anything to do with that, because it has absolutely nothing to do with that. But I had to follow my truth, and I just tell the stories to, let people know, because sometimes they ask. But Chimes Boutique came from my heart, and I put my heart into it with every piece. I handpick every piece. This entire ensemble, the shoes, the pants, the shirt, the jacket, this is all Chimes Boutique.
Okay.
And I do the same thing with each piece.
Now help me to understand. Do you contract with designers for their wear, or do
you want the
design
secret sauce?
Well, I'm just trying to understand. We have a member here at our church, Eric Presley, who's a clothing designer. He sits down with the sewing machine and makes the clothes. Is that part of what you do with Chimes Boutique, or do you contract with other designers for their products?
So I do different things, and I've done what you're saying, sat down with someone and they've created designs for me. I've worked with companies outside of the United States that will do that, and make various changes based on, whatever I want. I've done that. But what's worked for me is just I work with certain wholesalers, and, have built relationships with them. And that's the route that I go now.
Okay.
For now. The thing about being an entrepreneur that I love, and especially, being that fashion is my outlet, is how, that can change. I might have some pieces that I do some way, and then some other pieces that I do wholesale, and then another one I do from scratch. It just depends on, whatever. It's like art, whatever I create or want to create.
Do you cater more towards women's clothing or men's clothing, or what?
Ladies.
It's all ladies. It's
all ladies. And
Gotcha.
I'll get requests. And I have a lot of male customers. I have a lot. People really, I'm surprised. I was surprised how many men buy for their ladies. Not that they buy, but they shop with me. They really, they like the look, and they know that their significant other will like it. And so they're repeat customers, loyal customers. But as far as selling men's apparel, no, I don't think so. Okay. I get asked that, but I don't think so, because I want to be able to do it justice, and that's just not my interest.
Okay.
I just don't really, have the passion for men's clothing. So I wouldn't want to have the ladies looking all perfectly fly and then skimp on the men.
Yeah, I get it. In that you are virtual, do you have a heavy personnel group that you carry, or are you a one person everything? It's
growing, and sometimes I feel like a one person everything, because I have my hand in everything. Everything. It's like Tyler Perry. He started off building the set, acting, and he has a part.
Right.
So because I love it, I don't mind at all. Like, I prefer to be a part of each piece. But yes, I have staff working with me to make everything run smoothly. You have to. So I still do the shoots, the photo shoots, modeling the clothes, choosing the clothes, purchasing, fulfilling orders, dealing with customer service. Because even though we're virtual, being an e-commerce business, I still have to offer customer service. And that's one thing I never want to skim on. I never want my customer service to be negatively affected, or for anyone to think that because we're an online boutique that we don't want to offer the same level of service as if you walked into a brick and mortar. Because that's very important to me. I want my customers to have the type of experience that I want to have when I go into somewhere. It's like why I would choose one grocery store over the other, because this one over here might have, be selling billion, we know the one that everyone goes to and it's on every corner. But when you go in there, you have to pretty much ring yourself up and put your stuff in the buggy and all of that. Buggy,
Right.
Oh my goodness, we don't say that in 2021, but I'm dating myself by saying buggy. But I don't want that experience. I want the experience that we used to have, where the young man brings your stuff to the car, or at least put it in my bag and put the bag in my, you don't say buggy, if you don't say buggy, what, shopping cart?
Shopping cart, basket.
Basket. I want that level of service. That's what Tanika wants. So that's the level of service that I...
Well, let me ask you a typical question about service. I've never done the entrepreneurship that you do, but I have been on the other end. I've been the consumer. What's your return policy? Because that's always a sticking point.
It is. And let me tell you, so my return policy was actually 30 days, which was not an industry norm. It was there for like 4. So Chimes Boutique started in 2015.
Okay.
I changed to 2 weeks, so 14 days from the time you get your item in 2018. Like the end of 2018. And that's the industry. The industry norm is really, sometimes, it just depends. A lot of times it's no return. But, so I went to that. But after COVID, in June of last year is when I went to no returns because of COVID.
Okay.
I mean, I'm shipping all over the world, and we have this pandemic going on. I couldn't see, there was no way, being a nurse, I was going to send something to someone else's house.
So let me push back on that for a second. I'm buying for my wife, and I'm not 100% sure what the size should be. And let's be fair. A large in one company is a medium in another. A 2X is really a large. And so sometimes you get the sizes wrong. And so if a package comes and it's in the wrong size and I want to send it back, you're telling me that, I'm sorry, we can't take the item back?
Well, here's what I'm telling you.
Okay.
Because we're talking about customer service, right? So I'm saying my policy, you said, what's my policy?
Yes.
My policy is no returns as of, I think it's 6/15 of 2020.
Okay.
Right? But it's just like you go to a restaurant and you order your food, right?
Right.
And you're supposed to get your food and you pay for your food and you go. But if you get that and it doesn't taste good to you, then they can make sure that your experience, the customer's experience, is a positive one. So if someone reaches out to me, and this is, of course, happens, and you say, I'm a husband and I want to buy something for my wife, this happens with me. And I've even had him reach out before. I'm like, he'll be like, she's about your size, and then they get it, And she's my size, but where?
Yeah. Exactly.
What part of her?
I think that's a very fair question.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's about body distribution, not just, weight. So, of course, I would make sure that the customer has a positive experience with me. And that's my whole point about customer service. I don't ever want anyone to have an experience with Chimes Boutique and feel like they were ripped off, taken advantage of, or wasted their money. No. I deal with that on an individual basis, but that is not the experience I want anyone to have.
And in fairness, sometimes it's because we're ignorant. The purchaser. Like I said, if I'm buying for my wife, unless I've done extensive research, I might make the wrong choice.
Yeah.
I might buy a color, and once she opens it, it's like, what'd you buy it in that color for? I like this, but did it come in any other colors than this one? And so I'm just, and I know that that's the biggest thing in customer service. It's when people want to take stuff back. I'm the kind of person, I don't take stuff back. If it's wrong, it's just wrong. You put it to the side somewhere, because I don't like going through the hassle.
And it is a hassle.
Taking stuff back.
I try to not. For an e-commerce business, the biggest hassle is the person will have to go back, mail it back, and all of that. But I mean, I have had, because I'm of a certain stature. I'm 5'9". It's considered tall for a lady. And I wear heels and the pants. And it's because I, for so long, couldn't find pants that with a long enough inseam for myself. So I make sure that the taller ladies are accommodated. So I've had customers that are short. And then they're like, well, it's too long. Well, not usually the ladies, but I had a male customer. And he was like, oh, it's too long, and I really love it, but it's too long for her. She's was like 5'1". So I said, well, she really is a petite. She needs, she can't even shop regular because regular would be too long for her. So I told him he could ship it back, but when he told her he was shipping it back, she said, oh, no, you're not. I wear heels. That was what the communication was with us. But I didn't want him to have wasted his money. You're saying you bought something and you can't use it. Well, we can make it right.
In addition to clothing, do you accessorize necklaces and bracelets and
no
things
accessories?
Of that sort? No accessories. Okay.
No, and I don't think I'll go that route for now. I won't ever say no to anything fashion-wise, except not the men.
No men.
But as far as the ladies, as far as the ladies, because we need it all. So I do eventually plan to entertain that. Just like shoes, that's new and coming on the horizon.
So what is the fashion trend for 2021? Is there a particular trend that's coming down the road that everybody's going to be? I mean, I've lived long enough now to where I've seen bell bottoms and then straight legs, and now they're back to spread out and things of that sort. So I know that fashion changes. I don't know anything about fashion, but I am observant to the fact that fashion's changed. What's happening in 2021 fashion-wise that I should be looking for?
Nothing. No, because that's the thing about a true fashionista. We don't follow trends.
Okay.
And that's something that I want everyone to stop. Don't follow trends. Do you?
Okay.
And at Chimes Boutique, we offer a classic look. So it will be in style anytime, anywhere, any place. The biggest thing with us is at Chimes Boutique is we say a classic look, but a classic and classy look. So I want ladies to know you can be beautiful, you can be as attractive or sexy even as you want, but you don't have to show a lot of skin. You can if you want, but that's just kind of been the image that has developed, and it's because it's true, it's real. I mean, it's how it's the vision that I have, and it's so you can't really follow trends if that's we're gonna be in style, and you're gonna look modern, you're gonna look contemporary, and it is for the forward-thinking lady. It's for the lady who wants to walk into a room and command attention if she wants to. The clothes will do that for you, if that's what you want. But you don't have to look at any particular time, because I have some clothes that I am, and my customers too are still wearing from when I first opened 5 years ago, because I focus on quality, and they'll tell me like they hold well, very well, and no particular trend would I say we have to follow.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to ask you one more question about fashion, then we're going to talk about entrepreneurship.
Okay.
Why do women have to have 75 pairs of black shoes?
Oh, because, we need our heels.
I mean, black leather, black patent leather, black suede,
yeah,
black
strap.
slingback, black pump, black flat, black sandal.
Stiletto. All of that.
Why does there have to be 75 different pairs of black shoes?
Just because it's black doesn't mean it goes with everything. You need the different styles depending on what look you're going for. So it's different styles of black shoes. You might want a strap. You might want it to lace up your leg. You might want it to just be a pump, a zipper on this side on this one, a zipper in the back on that one. Your feet out on that one. I cannot look. I have a lot of shoes.
To me, if it's a black shoe, it's a black shoe. But okay.
That's the board. That's why I don't do men. The same reason, like when you have a baby and you go shopping for your little boy, you can do that. He doesn't have much to choose from. Put him some cute little, tennis shoes and whatever. But the little girl, you can do all kind of stuff with her. Same thing.
Just curious. Okay, I had to ask the question. Let's talk about entrepreneurship. The other side of what it is you do is that you're a business person, and you're not only providing for yourself, but you, as an entrepreneur, are providing income for other people. What are the challenges as an African American woman in the South being an entrepreneur?
So, in the South, I think it's a matter of perception. When you say in the South, when you put that quantifier on it, perception. So, a lot of people, me being in e-commerce business and being global, we live in a global society now, and people see me all over the world on social media. So, I get asked that a lot. Where are you? Where are you? And they're surprised oftentimes. You're in Louisiana. Like, they didn't think we had it like that,
Well, I'm not really talking so much about the fashion aspect of it as I am the entrepreneur aspect of it. The licensing and the contracts and the taxes and
that's everywhere too.
The challenges of being an entrepreneur here. Do you see them as being different than perhaps the challenges of colleagues of yours who are in different parts of the country?
I think it's different, but the common thing everyone has, and being an African American, has the same kind of gripes, challenges, and hurdles. Women, especially, being invited to the table. Or
that's what I'm
taking
talking
a
about.
seat at the table. Oh, yeah. We have those conversations. And Louisiana being always it's still perception. So you may not get invited to the table, but
there are Caucasian people who do what you do.
Yes.
There are Asian people who do what you do. Do you all ever sit down and talk about the differences that you experience as an African American versus what a Caucasian may experience, or an Asian may experience, or a Hispanic may experience?
When you say you all, you mean myself and those other ethnicities, or myself and my colleague,
your colleagues, your circle,
group, circle, talk about what they?
Yeah.
Not so much. we talk about it, but it's more so of what we can do. And I guess that's a very enlightening question because there's only so much we can do. And we need to probably step outside of that. But yeah, you do kind of get boxed in and you feel boxed in. And sometimes it's accepted. And I guess that's probably where my mindset is. Who is my customer? And that's what I focus on. I want to grow, of course. I want to prosper, but it's still like, but I know who my customer is. And I'm okay with that. I am not trying to appeal to a group or anything that probably is not happening. It may, but I know what has worked, what's working for Chimes Boutique, and that's, I guess, what I am working on perfecting there. In addition to Chimes Boutique, I mean, I just launched another site. Yes, I just revealed the logo for my next endeavor, which is TanikaMorrison.com.
Okay.
Yes. So I'll be offering more, and I'll grow. And as I grow, then, you know, what you were saying is about tapping into those other areas, maybe collaborations, outside of fashion even. I am so open to the possibility of whatever I am. Like, just because you start one way doesn't mean you have to finish there. So I believe in evolution and growth and being able to reap the rewards of all the work that I put in, because I work hard.
Yeah, I have no doubt about it. And you wear different hats.
Yeah.
You're a registered nurse. You run your own online boutique. You just told me you launched another one. But then I'm also reading that you are your own model. Also, you model your own clothing.
Yes.
Do you contract out as a model for other businesses and what have you?
I have been asked. I don't. The answer is I don't. I have not. Will I? Would I? Yes. And when it was all when I have been asked, I didn't not do it, because if it makes sense, then I'll do it. It has to make sense. It has to make financial sense. Number one, it has to be in line with my brand as well, because it's my image. I am my brand as well. So if those two things aren't happening, then I don't do it. So that's what I run into. Why I have not, but I have been asked.
As a registered nurse, you're a scientist, and you deal with factual data. As an entrepreneur and a model, you're more of an artist. And that's a whole different use of the brain from the scientist aspect. Which side of the brain prevails in your life?
Oh, I use them
The
both.
creative side or the scientific side? Well, obviously you use them both, but
I'm
which
saying,
one prevails?
And that's why I love my life, because I've been able to do both. But what prevails depends on the situation. But oftentimes that science kicks in, because even if I'm modeling, even when I'm working for Chimes Boutique, I'm still thinking numbers. I'm still thinking, you know, what market this will be most successful in. How do I present it? You know, we're so multidimensional as people, as human beings. And then, you know, being a woman, we oftentimes don't show it all. We think that we have to be one or the other. But I would say that the science part it prevails most, but the artistic side is up there. It's way up there. It's way up there. Yeah.
Is there something that the Black church, we're a church podcast, so I have to get around to church at some point. Is there something that the African American church could do to help African American entrepreneurs such as yourself? Is there a way that we could be more useful to what it is that you're trying to do?
Oh, sure. I mean, the church is, pillar and over culturally, in today's culture, I'll say. I think that has evolved. You know, the church has evolved. Not God, but the church.
Yeah.
And how people see the church and see the heads, you know, the pastors of the church, has evolved. And I think that's good. That's a good thing. As long as the church is in control of what they are. I wouldn't let the people dictate, outside of the church, dictate what the church is. So much, because you just have so much out here. You have to be careful. But I think that the church is the people that's inside of it. So I think what the church can do is go to the people within it to see what the needs are. As far as how to help the business owners, you have them right here in your church. What are their needs? Start there. And then you determine how you can help. As far as like a business like mine, exposure, letting them know that I exist or people like me exist is great, because then they can go and check it out for themselves and determine if they want it or not. And of course, networking, now we may have to change how we do that,
right?
You know, but I think these types of things are good, you know, podcasts, and people are going to see this that didn't even know I existed. So that's great. That's a great thing to do. And I think as business owners, we can do, more with the church as well. But we just need to network more and support each other. Make a conscious effort.
Historically, we're a Baptist church, and different denominations do things different ways. We had a national, we have, it still exists, National Baptist Convention, USA Incorporated. And when you go to a convention, there is usually a site within the convention hall where you can solicit people to come and sell their goods and services. And we often make fun of it. We call it the garage sale. We call it the
swap meet or something.
The swap meet, things of that sort. But really, its root is in giving African American people the opportunity to sell and to do positive business with their own in a large setting. And so while we make fun of it now, the genesis of it was really to help benefit Black businesses. And to me, that should always be the genesis of the church. Yes, we preach Jesus, and we should preach Jesus, but people live not just on Sunday, they live Monday through Saturday, and there are needs, there are goods, there are services that should be available to them. And if African Americans are the ones who are providing those goods and services, then certainly the church should be a part of trying to highlight and spotlight those businesses, goods, and services. And so I said all of that as a preamble to go back and ask, are we doing enough?
The church.
It's okay to say no, but
no. Well, no, because I'm not saying no. The church is not doing enough, but none of us are. That's why I'm saying, the church is not, because we're not. And like when you mention the booths, or we would call it a pop-up shop. I would call that a pop-up shop. And so my experience with pop-up shops, I did them early on. and they still exist, and I get invited to participate, and but they're not usually lucrative. It's not usually good financial sense to do because, like you said, people come for whatever reason. They're not coming to shop, and
Right.
if you're not coming to spend money on that particular item, then I don't need to bring all of this. It's a lot of work for them to set up. You have other types of events, like Essence, for instance. Remember Essence?
Right.
And they will have these setups. Now that would be something people are coming to spend money.
Right.
And so, yeah, if you're just coming to look and just walk by and just look or touch, that was just, like they just want to touch these clothes that people have to wear, if you think about it. And that's why I really love being an e-commerce business, because if people aren't just touching all your items,
right.
the hygienic part of it. But yeah, so it's a mentality I think that we have to get past and do better about. I think we're getting there. I've put that out there on my social media, and that got about small business owners, right? Like the post was, so McDonald's messes up your order and you continue to go all your life, but a small business owner makes one mistake and you write them off.
Yeah.
And then you tell everybody they're
That's
not a
also
good business.
the mantra for African American businesses.
Well, as soon as I posted
versus
that,
white folk.
that's exactly where the conversation went.
Yes.
So
You get one shot.
One shot.
Yeah.
One shot, and you better be perfect.
Yes.
And before you gave me that shot, you critiqued me just to the nth degree.
Right.
You asked me 50 million questions.
Right.
So you came with the expectation that so it's very difficult. It's very difficult, and you're not going to always be perfect. So when you make a mistake or you don't satisfy someone, you just have to, what can you do? But that is something that I think, like I said, the mentality, we have got to change that. People were like, well, I supported a black business and they did blah, blah, blah. I get my order messed up every time I go to McDonald's on such and such street. I know which one, they're going to mess it up. They're going to mess it up. And it's like, but that's okay. And I even had someone that said, but McDonald's never messed up my order. It may have been cold, they may have done whatever, but they didn't mess it up. Well, what's messing up? Because now you've even changed your definition of what's acceptable for them. But you won't change
That's a
it
very good
for
point.
Yeah, so that's messing up.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, we have to get past that. But it's difficult to have that conversation with people who have that mentality because they don't see it. They don't see it. It's almost like the same conversation as black on black crime to me. It's almost the same because you want to talk about, like when you're talking about police brutality and then they bring up black on black crime. You cannot excuse that because
Right.
of this. And why, and there's no, what is black on black crime? But, crime is crime. And people kill who's closest to them. But we have this defeatist mentality. The crab's in a barrel, but crabs don't go in a barrel. That's the point of that. But we miss that point that the crabs are in the barrel. So we are all in this together, but instead of us realizing it and helping each other out of the barrel, we're like, well, you fixing to get out the barrel and I want to get out of the barrel, so I'm pulling you back down here. You're not fixing to get out of here and leave me in this barrel. So it's like the same thing when it comes to us and business, I think.
I understand that you have a rather large online following. What do you all talk about online?
We talk about all kind of things. They're mainly, it's Instagram, Facebook. We talk about, so people, and that's what social media has done. It's shown that Oprah, she does the same stuff that I do, And I don't know what we ever thought a celebrity or a personality that we see on TV is doing. They still got to brush their teeth, wash their face, put your clothes on, and eat. Right. So, the following, I sometimes show what I'm doing. I show, what I have to offer as far as the boutique. And we talk about, though, I talk a lot about self-empowering for women. Mm-hmm. Because during the time that I launched Chimes Boutique, I was going through a divorce. I had been with my ex-husband since I was 16 years old. And here I was dealing with the debt, dealing with a lot. And so it was difficult. And it was me having to dig really deep to get through everything, mm-hmm. and launch a business and have it be successful. So I had to find that in myself. So I like to share that with people, especially women, because some of them are going through some of the same things. Mm-hmm. And I want them to know it's not who you think you are, it's who you think you are not. Mm-hmm. And that's a lot of times what I talk about with my followers. I like to share. I keep it positive. That's number one. I don't do negativity, period, in my own life. Mm-hmm. So it's very authentic. I'm very transparent with my followers, or we talk. And sometimes I'll throw stuff out there. We talk about silly things, too. I post funny things that are funny to me. Mm-hmm. And I just get their opinion on things. I love music. So a lot of times. What kind of music? I love soul and R&B music. Old soul?
Old soul?
Old soul, like
Motown?
Yeah, like okay. I love Otis Redding. I love Donny Hathaway. Okay. I love that kind of soul.
We're on the same page so far.
Yeah.
Okay.
I love that kind of music, you know. Right. And so I'll share, and I grew up in the 90s, mm-hmm. so I love 90s R&B, mm-hmm. which a lot of my followers were in the same age bracket. So we'll talk about music and things of that nature. Yeah.
You live in Baton Rouge. You were born and raised in Baton Rouge. You've raised your child in Baton Rouge. What's your thoughts about Baton Rouge for the next generation? If your daughter, it's your daughter, right?
I have a daughter and I have a son.
Okay, and a son.
Yes.
If your daughter or son came and said, I have an opportunity to move to Louisville, Kentucky, or Charlotte, North Carolina, or Dallas, Texas, what do you think, Mom? Do you think I should take that, or do you think I should stay here?
Go. Okay. Yeah, we lived in Florida for a minute and then came back. Mm-hmm. But like my daughter, for instance, she is an art major at LSU.
Okay.
So she, I think, needs to pursue wherever her art will be appreciated. Mm-hmm. And we've had those discussions. So she's a sophomore. And if she ever wants to leave, wherever she wants to go, and if she just wasn't ready to go, and LSU is a great school for her, and she had done some competitions, and their art school made great offers for her to come to their school, so she's there. Mm-hmm. So she gets to stay home. But if the situation was the same as far as the offer, and it was in, say, San Francisco or a great art mecca of somewhere, mm-hmm. then I would have supported the move.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely.
So, do you think that Baton Rouge or South Louisiana, because there's a difference between South Louisiana and North Louisiana.
Oh, yes, indeed.
Do you think that Baton Rouge or South Louisiana is fertile soil for African Americans to thrive and grow?
No, it's not. Okay. It's not. If you travel, you know that's a quick no. It's not. we can't all leave and make it better though. So we need to, and it's better than it has been. So we have, but we just need, we're not progressive enough. And I'm saying we, but I'm not talking about African Americans. Okay, we have to have, that conversation needs to include other races because we can't fix racism. Black people cannot fix racism.
Do you get tired of having to try to explain to people why the way that they think is?
Oh, I don't try
now?
anymore. I think it's obvious. I think they know.
Yeah.
Especially with what's happened in this last administration with our president. I think they know. They know. It's just we've been drinking the Kool-Aid for too long and letting them tell us, is you knocking me over my head that you're not hurting me. We know it is. So I'm not trying to explain anymore. And I know that it's not, we're not the problem. We have problems. We absolutely do. No one is exempt from that. But we cannot solve racism. We cannot stop someone else from being racist against us, no matter how much we abide by the rules or anything. If the rule is not, if it's implemented in a way to keep me down, how can I ever get out of it? You know? Yeah. So it doesn't, Baton Rouge, we just aren't progressive enough here. Other states are more progressive, and I want my children to experience that if they want to experience that. I mean, we visited and they see. I mean, it's obvious. So that's, I think, our biggest problem in this state, racism. It's fundamentally the issue when it comes to economics, education, employment, all of that, all of it.
I really appreciate you taking the time to share your thoughts with us today, coming by. I wish you well on your new site under your name, Tanika Morrison, and thank you so much for being a part of the Thrive Podcast today.
Thank you.
Thank you all for viewing. We're back for year number 4. Stay with us. We'll be back again real soon.